Ooh, this guy's trying to decide whether he should take the IELTS exam or the CELPIP exam. Which one do you think he should take? Well, the good news is that in Canada, both of those exams are proof of English proficiency. Okay, so sometimes people take the IELTS, they fail the IELTS, and then they try for the CELPIP. Some people fail the CELPIP and they try for the IELTS. Okay, so the good news is that you have two options, and so you can try to pick one that's easier. Now, you might be wondering, what are the differences between these two exams? Which one should you take? So in this video, I'm just going to describe some of the differences to you, and hopefully that helps you make a decision. Okay, so I think the biggest difference is on the speaking part of the test. I think this is the biggest difference. I mean, this is a huge difference because on the IELTS, you're speaking to a real person, whereas on the CELPIP, you're just speaking to a computer. Okay, so that is a very big difference. Some people might find this one easier, some people might find this one easier. It's probably dependent on your personality. Okay, so, I mean, if you take the IELTS in person, I mean, that can introduce some different dynamics, okay, like eye contact, facial expressions, posture. Okay, your body language will also be used to communicate. All right, so I mean, you need to make eye contact with the person you're speaking to. Whereas on the CELPIP exam, these things don't matter because nobody can see you, right? You can be looking down and answering your questions because you're just speaking into a microphone. So when the CELPIP people are listening to your answer, they don't know what your body language is, what kind of clothes you're wearing. Okay, those things probably won't matter too much, but you never know, okay? I mean, if you take the IELTS exam, you should definitely think about these things because the person can see you. All right, so that's a big difference that I think some people might prefer on the IELTS, to have a real conversation with someone. But some people might be so scared of speaking English to a real person, they might prefer the CELPIP. Okay, that's just a big difference, okay? So on the IELTS, you have 3 speaking tasks, which are about 4 minutes each, okay? On the CELPIP, you have 8 tasks, which are about 2 minutes each, okay? So shorter tasks, more tasks, longer tasks, fewer tasks, okay? That's another difference. Now, like I said, with the IELTS, your answers are going to sort of be in conversation form. So the examiner will ask you some questions and you'll respond. It'll be more like a real conversation. Whereas on the CELPIP, it's only you. You know, you read the question and then you start speaking. So that might be a little bit awkward for you to speak if there's no real person. So I don't know, it comes down to your personality probably. Okay, so here are the tasks on the IELTS. So task 1 is just a general topic. The examiner will ask you about maybe your family, where you're from, your hobbies, that kind of thing. Task 2 is a specific topic. So you'll be given a card with a specific question, like talk about your favorite book, something, okay? So then you need to say what the name of the book is, what the book is about, what you liked most about the book, those kinds of things, okay? Then task 3 is the follow-up. So the examiner will ask you some further questions on that topic. Again, it's going to be sort of more like a conversation. So really the IELTS is only 3 tasks, whereas the CELPIP has all these tasks which are more specific, okay? Like task 1 is giving advice, task 2 is talking about a personal experience, task 3 is describing a picture, Task 4 is making predictions about that picture. Task 5 is comparing and persuading. Task 6 is a difficult situation. Task 7 is giving your opinion on a topic. And Task 8 is describing an unusual situation. Okay, so these are a lot more specific. So, sometimes people really struggle with some of these questions, especially Task 8, an unusual situation. You need to have very specific vocabulary to describe a scene. Okay, so how about writing? What's the difference between writing on the IELTS and on the CELPIP? Well, there's a pretty big difference here too. Okay, the IELTS is handwritten and the CELPIP is typed. Now, that is a very big difference. Personally, if I were to take the CELPIP or the IELTS, this would probably be the biggest factor. I hate handwriting. I mean, I never do it. Nowadays we live in the age of technology. I'm always typing. I'm a good typer. Okay, it takes me so much longer to write than it does to type. So this could be, an advantage or a disadvantage for you. I mean, the question is, do you know how to type? Some people type with 2 fingers like this. Where is this letter, that letter? Okay, if that's you, then you should probably take a typing class before you try to take the CELPIP exam. I mean, you need to be able to type at a reasonable speed, But then again, if your spelling is really bad, then the IELTS maybe is worse, because on the CELPIP, you can see, it'll underline your spelling mistakes, okay? And also on the CELPIP, you have a word counter, so you can see how long your answer is. You don't have to count your words. I mean, really, you should get enough practice so that you know about how many words a piece of writing has just by looking at it. You don't want to waste time on the IELTS counting every word, so just estimate, okay? But I think this is a very big advantage for the CELPIP if you know how to type. Personally, this would be the reason I choose the CELPIP over the IELTS. But I don't know about you, maybe it's different for you. Okay, so let's take a look at the tasks. Task 1 on the IELTS is writing a letter, okay, about 150 words. Task 2 is writing an essay, about 250 words. Okay, on the CELPIP, Task 1 is writing an email. Task 2 is responding to a survey question. Both answers are about 150 to 200 words each. So a little bit shorter, writing than on the IELTS. I think the CELPIP writing is a bit easier than the IELTS for sure. That's my feeling, but some people might disagree. Okay, so what about listening? Well, on the IELTS, there are 4 parts to the listening test that take about 30 minutes, whereas on the CELPIP, there are 6 parts to the listening test, which take about 50 minutes. Okay, so that's a pretty significant difference there. But in terms of difficulty, I don't know. It's up to you. Let's take a look at the IELTS. So there are 4 parts, right? The first part is listening to a conversation in a casual sort of a setting. Part 2 is a monologue. That means only one person is speaking. Okay, and that is also in a casual situation. Then part 3 is a conversation between more people, maybe 3 or 4 people, in a more professional context. And then part 4 is a monologue also in that kind of a context. Okay, so you have sort of casual and professional context. So that's pretty broad. Whereas the CELPIP, again, is a lot more specific. Okay, part 1 is listening to problem solving. Part 2 is listening to a conversation. Part 3 is listening for information. Part 4 is listening to a news item. Part 5 is listening to a discussion. Part 6 is listening to viewpoints. A lot of people have a very hard time with this one, listening to viewpoints. So, I mean, that's some differences between, the IELTS listening and CELPIP listening. But what about reading? So IELTS has about 40 questions and CELPIP has about 40 questions as well. So each one is about an hour long. So I don't think, there's a huge difference between these. But you probably want to know which test is easier overall. What is the overall? You just want to pass a test and be done with it. Just forget about it. Well, I would say the CELPIP speaking part is a little bit more challenging. Okay, but if you practice hard and if you practice the right stuff for the CELPIP, I don't think it actually needs to be harder. I think it could even be easier. Personally, I think I would rather do the CELPIP because I know the speaking part. I've prepared, I've practiced. Actually, I've written a book to help you prepare for the CELPIP speaking test. It has over 100 questions and my answers, tips, vocabulary, that I think will really help you on the CELPIP speaking test. So I think if you go through this book, I think you'll do okay on the speaking part of the exam. So, I mean, I think it is a little bit harder than on the IELTS, but if you practice, I think you'll do okay. I mean, with the other parts, like with the listening and the reading, I think both of those are sort of similar. I mean, the CELPIP listening takes longer. It's about like 15-20 minutes longer than the IELTS listening. But difficulty, I think they're probably about the same. Writing, I think that's another big difference. So personally, I would way rather do the CELPIP writing. There's no essay. Okay, with the IELTS, there's the essay. On the CELPIP, you just write an email and then you respond to a survey question. So I think the CELPIP writing is easier. It's better format typing, and the speaking, I think it could even be easier than the IELTS if you don't mind speaking into a microphone and if you do a lot of practice. So personally, I would rather do the CELPIP than the IELTS, but it might depend on other factors. Now, the cost of both exams is about the same. It's about 300 Canadian dollars to do the CELPIP and the IELTS. A few dollars won't really matter. You just want to be done with the exam. You want to pass it and get it over with, right? So if it's $20 more or $20 less, it doesn't really matter, right? Now, the other factor is location. This is a big factor. If you're outside Canada, I mean, the IELTS is going to be much easier because to do the CELPIP, well, you have to be in Canada. Now, there are a few testing centers in other places. There's one in Dubai, there's one in New York, and there's one in Manila, Philippines. So, I mean, the chances are you're not near those places, so it's a lot easier just to do it in Canada. So this could be the determining factor for you, the location. I mean, that's important. But if you're inside Canada, it doesn't really matter. You can just do it anywhere. Okay, now the IELTS, one advantage is that you can take the speaking part on a separate day. Is that an advantage? I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's an advantage, but some people might like to split up, do the speaking part one day and do the other 3 parts another day. I don't know. Do you think this is an advantage? Let me know down there. Personally, I don't think it's a real advantage. Okay, so my advice would be to take both exams. I mean, if you have enough money, I know they're expensive. If you have enough money, just take both. Study for one, take it. Study for another one, take it. Okay, very close together. That way, I mean, if you pass one of them, great. Then you can just forget about it. But if you fail both of them, then you can sort of get a good feeling for which one might be easier for you, and then choose one and practice hard for that one. I mean, I know a lot of people, I've helped a lot of people who have failed these exams multiple times. So I know how frustrating it is. You just want to pass it and get it done with. Sometimes I wish I could take the exam for you because then I would probably pass, right? I think I would do good. I might not be perfect, but I would definitely pass the CELPIP and the IELTS. Hey, if you wish I could take it for you, click on the like button right down there. Maybe the CELPIP people or the IELTS people will let me take it for you. Okay, so I want to know what you think. Which one do you think is easier? I mean, maybe you have taken both of them. Maybe you have some good insights or some opinions that everyone else would benefit from hearing, okay, or from reading. So let me know, let the Mad English TV community know what your tips are down there in the comments, and I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.